Paul, Aaron was asked this morning about kind of the lean years before you guys went on this run. He said there was always kind of faith because the team had Sasha Barkov as a guy to kind of build around. When you first took this job or were thinking about it, how much kind of what excited you about the opportunity of getting to coach Barkey and just knowing you had him coming here?
Well, there wouldn't actually, I got to say, I picked the right words for this. Like, there weren't any excitement until you meet him. So you know he's a good player, but until you spend time with these guys, you don't know how they view the game. I mean, watch him play in the playoffs in the 3 years prior, understood, some of his capability, but his willingness then to play possibly a different style of game. You got lots of guys who say, "Hey, this is my game," and this is, and I understand there's some players you almost adapt a little bit to them, but he's very adaptable to his style of play. So that was great. It was. I think it was first phone calls for all of those guys where I thought, well, this is going to be different.
Front right. Paul, Reinhard, Mikkola, Greer, updates on?
Yeah, they're out today.
All three?
All three. They're all day today. I would expect, hopefully at some point in this series, they'll be able to come back in and play. Mm-hmm. The determination is the three guys that I'm going to put in. Obviously, Boqvist is already in, but the three guys that I put in will perform better than those men would tonight.
And I wanted to ask you about Evan Rodriguez. He's one of a few guys who's probably getting chirped for not scoring yet, but 10 assists in the postseason. Seems like since he came back in Game 7, he's found another level. What have you seen from Rodriguez over these last 4 or 5 games?
He is a playoff guy in a different way. Like, for his belief, he led our team in scoring in the final last year. A lot of those were assists. What he excels at is killing plays and creating forward motion, whether it's in your own end of the ice or in the neutral zone, and certainly in the offensive zone. He can knock pucks down. His original positioning is so very good. His read of the plays is so very good that he gets to the defensive need that we have at that moment very quickly, and he's got hands to create that loose puck.
Left side, third row.
We're going back to yesterday's investigation.
Okay. Don't let it go now, boys. Let's run with it.
Marchand revealed that he may have been telling a bit of a frozen fib there about the blizzard, but
he's still angling for a sponsorship.
Yes,
what
he
are you
is.
going with? Okay.
There was a Winnie the Pooh reference this morning and everything. It was out of control. There was a source, though, that said that a pint of cherry graters has disappeared, and I was asked to ask if you know anything about that.
I don't need to, because Bill sends a bunch to the house, even when you're on a diet. I have nothing to do with that. Especially when you've got the right kind of group, I stay kind of far away from the room as I can. No, I don't want to insert myself in there and mess it up. I'm strictly hockey, and then I get out.
Right side.
I had a question about Luostarinen before that. Is it Belinsky's and Sturman, or are you still deciding that?
Correct.
Okay. And will Sturm be at center, or
No.
No. Okay.
Be on the wing.
Luostarinen, you mentioned the other day, outside out, maybe in the West, there's not a lot known about him. What's his value? I know you saw it a couple of years ago when you didn't have him in the final, but just what is his value?
I can describe him as a player. What I'm learning now is you want to be careful about assigning a value in that might be his ceiling, because this kid just keeps getting better and better. He's not a kid. He's a grown man. But the fourth line center in training camp 3 camps ago, but clearly with what we had, a top 9 player, but moves to the wing. So he's a center iceman that plays the wing, which is based on the depth of our team. A lot of times you have guys who come into the league at center, but they have to go to the wing, and at some point they come back to it, or they don't. It just doesn't happen for them. He could come into the wing or into center tomorrow and be fine. But he's just gotten stronger, faster. His reads there's that kind of Barkov, Lundell defensive reads. It's how they come into the game. They're not on the wrong side of the puck, and if they are, you don't need to tell them, because they know it by the time they're coming to the bench. They've figured that out. There's some offense there, and there's certainly, I think some of it's born of quickness. He's gotten faster, and then Anton Lundell's doing the exact same thing that he's doing at the exact same time. So now it gets to be a better line, and then Brad Marchand comes in, and then there's an offensive level in his game that these two hopefully will learn. I don't expect, there's not very many players with Brad's hands. He's got really gifted hands. But now they're just at the right time together, that they can do both. That they are, 2 years ago, in the Boston series and in the Toronto series, in our first two series, we would have a lead in the game, and the other team on the road would switch their match, right? So you would get Pasternak and Marchand or Bergeron, and then or you would get Matthews to come out and play against the Lundell line. Reinhart was on the right wing, but it turned out to be a really good thing for our team because they had left and right-handed centermen if the puck got iced, and they were so their base foundation game is very safe for the Florida Panthers. But now we're seeing growth, and A2 is maybe the one we didn't expect at first. Anton Lundell, we thought that he scored 18, but Lusty's got some offensive game as well.
Take a few more for Coach. Left side, front row.
Today's game day, you guys are a win away from a third straight trip to the Stanley Cup Finals, but it seems like business as usual with your players, with everybody around here. How hard is that not to take for granted? I mean, obviously you've been through a lot of years where, nowhere near this, and everybody's just treating it like another day.
Well, that's the goal, right? So when they come to the rink, they understand their day. And there are always new things, especially injuries that can kind of take you negatively one way, and then there's the desire to get to the next round that'll take you to another place. As long as you talk about it and you deal with it, then you can kind of almost mitigate energy that you don't understand. Everybody's going to be jacked up for the game tonight. They've got full desperation on their side. We've got full desire on our side, and it's going to manifest itself in the way the game is played. We just want to be able to control how we manifest that. I don't use those exact words, but the idea is the same, and it's not the first time they're going to have heard this speech, and they'll all have a pretty clear idea of what we're talking about.
Right side, second row.
Hey, Paul. Just in the years since you've been coaching, the game has evolved dramatically, but the ingredients that go into winning, have they particularly changed at all? And if they have, what goes into it?
It's a really great question. And things that we have talked about in our room is the game doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care what style of game you play. It doesn't care how much talent you have. It doesn't care how you build. It doesn't care what you've been through. There's a set of things that it demands, and it's not perfect, but if you are the team that does the thing that the game demands of you, you have the best chance of winning. So there's mitigating factors to that, and goaltending is one of them. So you can do all the right things the game demands. So it's not just a matter of how hard you play. The team that plays the hardest usually wins. It's not always, but that's a pretty good factor. And the team that makes the best decisions more likely wins. So that's not dump the puck every time. It's dump the puck when you should, make a play when you should. Easy from the bench, real easy on TV, very, very difficult at ice level at that speed. So those decisions that are made, that and then I think because of then the inconsistencies of the game, and that a goalie can be better than your team some night, little breaks some things. Maybe the biggest is which team handles the adversity that the game is going to present every single night. That's really important. So how you handle your game, right? That was a 1-1 game after 2 periods last game. That's tight. It's a break either team is up 3-1 after 2, and you can say they earned it. You wouldn't have had to be lucky to get to 3-1 for either team. So had it done that, then how you handle that in the game that you're playing, but also in the overriding game. If you are respectful of what the game demands, it doesn't matter the style of game you play.
2 more questions, back left.
Paul, we know this is a player-led team, and then you mentioned the other night that at some point in the season the bench starts to take over. I'm just curious, at what point this season did you see that, and how important is that here down the stretch in these big moments?
Yeah, there's 2 pieces to that, I think, or maybe 2 stages to that. You go back 3 years ago, it was a game in Toronto when they had just exhausted me. It was theirs. They won that game in overtime on their own, and then it becomes when you notice it is when you don't have to say much on the bench because the players are calling the game in front of them. And then the second is where it gets really good is when they call the game one of 2 ways. They're either screaming it at each other, get it out, get it in, put it on my tape, or they're so respectful of the effort each one has, they're just talking about it. Put that puck inside, not pull your head out of your butt. Put that, there's a different way to communicate the game. So the first level is the players are saying what basically the words that are in your head they're saying, so you don't have to say them. That's way better. And then if they're being hyper respectful of each other, then that means they care about each other at the right level, the level that we're going to need to have a chance.
Last one, all the way to your left.
Hey, Paul. Mikkola's done so many good things for you in these playoffs. I was wondering if you could speak about his being out of the lineup and how that impacts things.
Yeah, well, we would look at it the same way we look at Aaron Ekblad being out. He missed 4 games. It's part of what we do. We're going to miss him. Uvis Balinskis has been the player that's come in and played exceptionally well. He was a difficult out for me when the decision time came between, kind of 2 defensemen of who was going to play. That was a tough call. Not about whether you're right or not, because they're so close. You're not right or you're not wrong. Either way, they're close enough. It's just he had played very well for us. So we'll get an excited guy in the lineup. We will miss Niko, like we missed Aaron, like they missed Chatfield. Everybody, we all go through it the same way, but we have players that we think we're excited for. I'm happy for Uvis because he doesn't deserve to be watching hockey games. His play says he deserves to be playing games. So one of those guys gets a piece of it.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, guys.